Oops. If you're into Billie Eilish, this freeride tutorial might be for you. Just as a little disclaimer, Stomp It, we are sponsored by Atomic for making tutorials, but not for this video. I'm making this video because you guys asked me so much questions about my equipment. You'll notice my opinions are still my own. Let's get to it. I know this is a ski review, but the main thing that funds these videos are our camps. So consider joining one of our ski technique, freeride or freestyle camps for adults and take your skiing to the next level. Hope to see you at one of them. Ciao. That's not the ski I want to talk about. This is the ski I want to talk about. The Bent 110. I've skied this ski quite a lot over the last few years. I had it in a couple of different lengths, different setups with shift or pin binding. I know the ski pretty well. Let's first talk about what is good about this ski. For its width, it is pretty light. It has a nice progressive flex pattern. It's quite butterable in powder. You can land, switch, do tricks. Thanks to the light weight, it feels quite natural to do spins, and you know, it feels like an oversized freestyle ski, which is really fun. I have a lot of good times on it. Next thing it's pretty good at is riding trees. Short turns in trees feel good, they feel nice and nimbly, which I quite like. And I used it a lot in Japan a couple of weeks ago. Had a great time on them in the trees. Like, it's a pretty sick ski. Let's talk about what is bad with this ski. First of all, if you mount recommended, you can have it as a fun freestyle ski and short turns and tree skiing. It's pretty good for that. But this ski is pretty shit in recommended at skiing big open faces. Like, I feel like the skis are like, you have a little nervous ski like this, and I have it in 188. I've been getting it longer, just, you know, because it is mounted pretty far back. It doesn't ski so well, so a longer one makes more sense. But those big open faces, just, I don't know what exactly with the ski that makes it ski or turn so poorly on big open faces with like pretty good powder. Well, I do have my hint, and it's the mounting point is just too far forward. And I haven't tried moving it, say -2 from recommended, maybe -3, and see if you get better on these big open faces. But you know, then it's going to come at the cost. The tail shrinks, it's going to be harder to land, switch, and powder, and maybe I'm going to lose some of that playful freestyle feel that this ski has, that I love so much about it, but I hate those big open faces. But as with anything, it's a trade-off. Do you want to do fun freestyle stuff, or do you want to make sick turns down open faces? You choose. That brings me on to the next point. Who is this ski for? Having talked about it, it makes it quite obvious, I think, that this ski is for freestyle people who want to do 180 drops, maybe a little rodeo 5, land switch every now and then, maybe ski switch and powder even. Yeah, it's who it's for if you mount it recommended. I just don't know. I wish I knew how much better it would be at big open faces if I moved it back. I truly wish I'd tried it. So that said, I think I'm gonna go to the shop and ask them to move this ski back so I can try it. Because it's about time I experiment with that and see if I like it more on the open faces. So that's a Bent 110 for you. Sick ski at some things, kind of shit at some other things. I just got the 2025's Bent 110. I'm planning on having two, one with this binding and one with the shift binding. And I just gotta say, it's beautiful. Big shout out to Chris Benchetler for being a badass artist. Making every 2 years, I'm saying every 2 years, he likes to make the best graphics in the world one year, and then the next year something that's it's okay. Kind of like the bent 110 I was just showing you. Yeah, I look forward to ski them, and I'm gonna try moving it back, maybe. Something that's super cool about the 2025 years Bent and Backland is that they've been redesigning things to make them more sustainable. You know, something like 15 to 20% less CO2 emissions on the skis. But I'm going to review them at a later point when I've actually skied them and see if they feel different, etc. Peer pressure me in the comments, and the full reviews might come sooner. But otherwise they look and feel very similar. Backland ski, that's fun. Should talk about that one. So Backland, this one I've skied all my sickest lines in the last few years on. Either with Backland tour binding or shift binding on. I've had both. Right now I only own them with these bindings. And for next year, they're coming with a Backland 109. This is 107, 109, more sustainably made ski with one of the sickest graphics in the Backland line. I think it's a beautiful ski. White just looks so nice around the white and black mountains. The rocks, you know, kind of black. This ski feels very, very similar. Unfortunately, it doesn't have the prettiest graphic on the bottom. Is that the right way around? Atomic. I feel like that's a bit too from the World Cup race circuit for my taste. The graphic is super uncool on the bottom. That could have been way sicker if it was just white and black, maybe, kind of like the top sheet. But you know, that's personal preference. The Backland ski, compared to a Freestyle Freeride ski like the Bent 110. This one is totally directional. It's meant to be ridden forwards. It's meant to be mounted relatively far back. So when you stand on it as a freestyle ski, you're like, wow, that's a long nose. And that, I don't know, makes mute grabs look not so sexy. So avoid mute grabs if you rock this one. But it makes it very good at turning. Short turns in trees, turns really well. It's a great time. Long, swooping turns down big faces. It's just a great time. So, but I haven't skied this one nearly as much as the other one. Truth to be said, I've skied it one day and I thought it felt rather similar. Felt like a good ski. But yeah, directional ski like this is just the way to go if you're turning into turn connoisseur like myself. You know, these days I try to do nice turns. And a directional ski is definitely going to help with that. Although I don't land switch with these skis much, but I do an occasional flip, rodeo 3, etc. on them. It's a good time. What is bad about this ski? So, although I try to charge big, not so big faces, but big for me, they intimidate me. Big faces with swooping turns. You know, if that would be crusty and a bit shitty, because it's designed very light for a ski this width, with lightness you lose that sense of stability. If you ever lifted like a World Cup ski, you know, which is designed to really rip, they're extremely heavy, they're thick, torsional stiffness is amazing. With lightness, you lose a bit of that, although they've done an amazing job giving it torsional stiffness this way, and this sort of stiffness is 7 out of 10. Like, it's not super stiff, but it's stiff enough to ski rather well. But if you ski, you know, couloirs at 110 kilometers an hour or Freeride World Tour, it's a bit too soft for you. The Backland 107 or 109 is obviously for like touring people who don't do 2,000 meters of vertical a day. Because there are way lighter skis in the market. For new skimo people, it's definitely that, not that. But for like free touring people who might use a lift up and do 1,000 vert, 1,500 vert, like it's a good ski. It's light, it's good. You can rip on it, so it's for you. Let's talk about the shift binding. I rock the 13 DIN version, and I have been for a few years. Let's first talk about what is good about this binding. It is light compared to an old frame binding where you had the safety of an alpine binding with the option to tour. But they were very heavy. And this is way lighter at something like 880 grams. Next thing that's good about it is that because it's designed very similar to an alpine binding, the toe piece, you have sort of a little bit of suspension sideways. So when you're shattering in the ski, helps to keep it on edge, making it feel more like an alpine binding. It's releasing safely sideways and up from the heel, has normal DIN settings, it's really good. And when you decide to go touring, I assume you're not going to do massive amounts of vert. I did Yote, a beautiful volcano in Japan. It was like 1500 vert on this ski. Obviously a heavy option for reasonably, for me at least, quite a long ski tour. It's quite easy to use. You just flip it down, boom, flip this thing up, and now you're ready to tour. Just get in there, start walking. And then you want to go skiing again, boom, squeeze it, pull it, press it. It's an alpine binding. It's fast. Watching other people faff around with the Market Duke or the cast system, it's a faff. They're quite slow, but they get even better downhill performance than this one. The bad part about it is that it's heavy. That's the same as one of the good points. 880 grams is still really heavy compared to a pin binding. Next thing that is bad about it, which they might have fixed now for next year's model, is that this riser plate had a tendency to just lower itself over time, making it this setting on the boot, the up and down, get wrong. But also, if you would land really hard you could crush it. And this was a breaking point that I've seen been broken by one of our coaches, Will, when we were filming one day, and that is obviously sad. But they have fixed that for next year's model. They have a different mechanism, I don't know exactly how, but it's supposed to work better. But we'll see. Next thing is that it has a bit of a reputation to break. I have not broken this binding ever. Next thing it has a reputation as a bad thing is that it has a reputation to pre-release. I wouldn't say I've had an issue with that. You want to make sure that the forward pressure is set up perfectly. And I don't know, I'm ashamed to say, but I ride it on a decently high DIN. And anyway, I feel like it releases a bit easier than the DIN it says on it. A younger me would maybe not love to ski on this with freestyle in nature. Maybe it's the DIN is still a bit too low. When I've been landing switch, dropping off things, I have popped out of the heel, but I've done some pretty sweet butters on it in powder, just holding on. I have not managed to get the heel piece to release. So I haven't had a pre-release issue with it, I would say. But the younger me that was a bit gnarlier and sendier, it's borderline too weak with DIN 13. I would have preferred DIN 16 to really make it through. What was the other bad things about it? Oh, that one. Next thing that is bad about the shift binding is if you look at this ski stopper. If you press it again, boom. It doesn't fold in, it only lifts it. Like a more alpine binding actually goes in, it goes up and then folds in. So what this does, I can show you with only one binding, is that the other ski sometimes kind of comes in under here, making it stuck. Also I've had, when I've broken my pants, hook itself around the other ski or around the stopper, which has, made some sketchy situations. And I really don't like that. I wish it would fold in. But it doesn't. It's not a big deal, but it's, it put me at slight danger a couple of times. Let's talk about who the shift binding is for, and it's for free touring people. So if you like to have only one freeride ski that can do everything, it makes sense to have a safe alpine binding when you're in the resort, and you know, until you start doing, say, 1200 vert plus, it's fine to go ski touring on it. You know, take the lift up, tour for an hour, ski down something sick, maybe tour for an hour. You know, I don't want to ski tour on this all day. It's a bit heavy, but oh, it's safe. Oh, it skis well. And compared to a pin binding, the heel piece, you know, it really holds the heel of your boot. Well, a pin binding doesn't do that so well. You can kind of feel a little that the pressure of the heel doesn't transfer as well down to the ski. So just great to ski downhill, you know. So that's that. And that's who it's for. Also good for freestyle people that are light or don't send it too big. They might want to go for something like a 16 binding or the cast system, although it's a FAF. Let's talk about my current touring binding. I've used Backland Tour for, I don't know how many years, about 3 maybe, 4, and I'm generally really happy about it. But let's talk about first what it is good for. It's good because it's very light. I like that. There are lighter bindings, but you know, this one comes with a ski stopper and still reasonably light. Next thing I really like about it is that it had this little metal thing here at the cost of, I don't know, 2 grams maybe, or a couple of grams. So when you put the toe in, you can just kind of put it at this metal thing and it aligns it here, so it's pretty quick to put on. You know, when you're on the mountainside, it's quite helpful actually, compared to getting into other pin bindings. Next thing I like about this binding is its ease of use. You know, you just flip this up, stand on it. That's actually not how I do it. So what I do, I flip it up, I get in the toe first, and then I just stand on it, bam, and you can tour. There is one more step that hurts my fingers. You want to twist this one to the side, so the heel really flows naturally. But you can leave it the other way, but don't. Give it a twist. Simple razors in the back. Next thing that's good about it, it has a pretty simple construction. I feel like there's not so much that can go wrong. I have not broken it, bent it, had any issues with it yet. Yeah, it's pretty solid. But let's not only talk about the good stuff. What is bad? I one time had a pre-release in Zermatt. I was just skiing on the slope, hardly hit the bump, and one ski just went pew. Like, I was like, how? What happened? Did it have snow in the pins? I thought maybe. And then I checked it, and you should have, it comes with a little plastic piece to measure the distance between here and the boot. If I remember, it's a couple of millimeters. And you just stick it in there to check it, and it had gotten a little, it had unscrewed itself a little bit over time, gotten a little bit larger, and that made it pre-release with no force. And I have never quite trusted it since. Although, you know, I can butter on it, I can do a load of stuff on it, and it's been sticking on really good. But pay attention to that you have the right forward pressure, and they've been good then. But it's just nagging on the back of my head at that time. You know, if you ski something, you fall, you die. You don't want to have that. So I'm regaining the faith in it, and I keep checking this regularly, the forward pressure. Let's read what the other bad things was. Oh yeah. Next bad thing about this binding is the din situation. This one, you can replace this pin that goes around this axle here basically, that makes the binding twist slower this way and also release less easily upwards. And it comes in 3 settings: women, men, and expert. And I ride expert, and they are, to put it like a mountain guide friend said, they are well beefy. They can even be a bit hard to get in, because it is so beefy, and I don't feel so safe about riding the expert one. I fear a little bit ripping my leg into pieces, which I fear. So I'm going to experiment with a new binding that has a DIN 12 setting and see if that holds well enough. And it's maybe going to make me feel a little bit safer. But also I feel like I need the expert pin. So that's my negatives on it. DINs and my fear of pre-release after this one experience I had. Yeah, Backland tour for you. Good binding. Ta-da! The Hawx Ultra XTD with a boa. This boot I've been rocking for years, when it used to look like this without the boa. And let's talk about what's good. The first thing that's good about this boot is that it rides and feels very similar to the normal Hawx Ultra 130S, my aggressive piece and boot I use for freeride skiing. Like, it's a good boot, good thick liner. Like, it feels like a real alpine boot, and the weight is very similar to a real alpine boot. But like, that's pretty amazing for sending it down big lines. Yeah, good boot. Let's list out the good things on it. No, let's not list out the good things about it. Let's talk about what's good on it. The BOA system. When they first launched it, I was like, that's a stupid beep gimmick. I wasn't happy about it. I was like, I don't want to have another thing that can break on me. That seems annoying. I don't know, I was so negative. I'm usually not that negative. I like new technology usually, but I was quite skeptical. What's wrong with the buckles? But now I use this one for 11 days skiing in Japan and then a couple more days here in Hawx. And I'm surprised to say it, but kind of love the BOA system. Boop on the lift to release some pressure. While touring or skiing, tighten it a bit. You're like, oh, that's a little bit too loose. You know, with the old school buckles, you have to twist them. Ah, that's too much back, or you do one buckle more. Oh, that's too much. Twist it again. Takes a while. Perfect now. Oh, that's too tight. Let's redo. Like, it's a good system. And I was also worrying about, is that going to make it harder to make it in and out of the boot? Boom. Look at this. Look how long this cable is and how much it can actually undo itself. Like, it works like a charm. I'm into it. Just cannot believe what a change of attitude I had on this. Next thing, what's good about it? I gotta think what I had written down in my piece in quiet. Yeah, it feels similar. Oh, what's bad? So let's talk about what's bad with this boot. And it's the same thing that's bad on every other boot on the market that has this simplistic and kind of beautiful walk mode. You know, it's so quick and easy to engage and disengage. So when this is in, the boot doesn't like flex like as a whole unit. You know, this part here is kind of totally blocked. It has a tiny bit of flex up here. So you kind of flex more by kind of deforming the boot forwards. That's a bit bad. But it's also the case with virtually all boots with this system. But I think it rides and feels quite similar to my normal Hawx boot, so I don't mind. It's not a big deal. Next thing that's bad about this boot is that it's a bit of a bitch to get out of the boot in normal setting. This one in, getting out, it pinches the foot on me and some friends. I don't know if it does that on everyone, so I used to get out with the boot all the time. But now I kind of learned that if I put it in walk mode, I found a way to wiggle out the foot without hurting the top of my foot here, which I'm quite happy about. Last thing that's bad about it is that it's the same liner. I'll show you. It's a similar liner to this one, where it has this, which is nice, but makes it also annoying to get out of the boot. So that's the Hawx Ultra XTD. Really good boot. Skis very close to an alpine boot, but it's heavy. So I'm very excited to soon start skiing this one. Haven't tried it yet. It's almost half a kilo lighter. 120 flex, Backland 120 XTD. Just looks and feels sick. So much lighter. But is it gonna ski as well? Certainly not. But maybe it's gonna ski well enough. So it could be my new favorite for ski touring. And maybe I'll use it all the time. We will see. Thank you guys so much for watching this ski review. Check out the links down in the description if you need to buy any ski gear. It doesn't even need to be the ones we talked about in this video. It'll still help fund making more videos, teaching hundreds of thousands of you to ski better. See you in the next video. Ciao.